Let's talk about it.
Hello and welcome back to Thicc Radio, the award-winning podcast where we talk about gaining, feedism, and everything plus size. I'm James.
And I'm Tim, so let's get into it. Today we're welcoming to the show Jess Villalvir.
Yes. Hi.
Hello, my love. How are you today?
I'm just so wonderful and excited and all the things, all the feels. What about you guys?
Yeah, it's coming off the end of a long work week, so I'm ready to kick off the weekend and enjoy this conversation.
Yes.
I'm doing good. I've finally settled into the fact that the cold months have arrived, so I'm trying to lean into the hygge. You know, I have a little blanket across my lap. I have my warm beverage. I'm just trying to get into the cozy, the comfort of the season.
If you romanticize it, it'll feel better.
You see, I like that. I like that a lot. But listen, Jess, baby, are you ready to get into it today?
Let's go!
Yes! Okay. Well, listen, first things first, for the people who do not know you. Jessica, who are you?
So I'm Jess. I'm a registered dietitian. I have my own private practice, which is weight neutral. So what I always say when I'm introducing this to clients is what that means is that the number on the scale does not define your worth by any means, nor is it the sole number to focus on, because there are so many other health outcomes metrics to measure your health outcomes besides your weight. That's a little bit of me in a nutshell.
Girl, that makes me so excited. I need to say this here because even since the times before we were doing this podcast, within the gaining and fetus communities, people would say there are several categories of professional human that we wish we could just get a little TED talk from, and it's a psychologist, it's a dietitian, it's a nutritionist, because we want to know the tea and we need to wrap our heads around some shit. And so when you had reached out to us in response to a little APB put out, we were just like, yes, immediately. A good bitch who wants to talk to us, yes! So we were very much looking forward to this. And in that, you had said even about the weight neutrality of your work as a dietitian, as a nutrition, and it's all the things that sing to us where it's because, of course, sometimes you look at a person and you're like, maybe we need to tiptoe, we need to be maybe careful with some feelings sometimes around some stuff. And all those bits just made me be like, oh no, this is going to be fine. This is so we were just so looking forward to this. And it just makes me so excited. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for saying that. And no, I always try to create a safe space for anybody around me. And so whatever that is, that is.
What made you, or what inspired you to go into dietitian? Why that particular field?
Yeah. So this is my second career. Before I was in healthcare and I did project management training, all of the operational things. I'm a very organized gal. And in the pandemic, I know a lot of us were doing our soul searching, and so was I, because I realized I'm feeding my wallet, but I'm not feeding my soul. And this is the one life that we have. What am I doing with it? And so I just did a lot of research and blah blah blah, and then I found a program, and I thought that this was a really great way to help heal people. And because I was debating between a psychologist and an RD, and I was honestly, the psychologist is really one stream of income, and I just wanted to diversify and speak to many people. So that was the deciding factor. But I've seen people struggle with their relationship with food, with their body image, with what to eat, how to eat. And it's at any age. I have clients that are in their 60s in one part of the country and one gender, and then in their teens in another part of the country and another gender, and many experiences overlap. And so why is that? And so can we get other voices out there that are saying no, you're good enough, no, you're wonderful, no, I love you, period.
And I believe you're quoted as saying that you decided to go into nutrition and wellness path after seeing lifelong struggles with, relationships with food and self and body image. And in a
Yeah.
world that is like so dominated, well, I mean, at least in the United States, that is so dominated by diet culture
Mm.
and obsessing over, like you said, the number on the scale and all of these industries that are working hand in hand to make you feel like shit about yourself. How do you go about, like, I know that you said that like your program is weight neutral. How do you get people to like come on that journey with you and like trust that this isn't just going to be another sort of like pyramid scheme or something that's going to end up being like, oh God, I went a couple of times and I just ended up feeling terrible.
Yeah. Well, no, I feel like in the first like 20 seconds of meeting a new client, it's like make or break. And so once they log in, immediately I'm like, what's their comfort level? Are they chatty? Are they shy? Do they look upset? Do they look shy? Do they look happy? All of those things. And then I kind of like have to adjust what my approach is immediately. And I always start by saying, any jitters or should we dive right in? And that immediately opens the floor. Hey, I've got this going on and I don't know what to do. So, and we validate it. I don't know. I think that I'm really able to in tune with people. And so it makes it a little bit easier to kind of gauge them. And then we spend like the sessions really discussing the first session, like what I always say, what's going on in your life? I want to know what's going on in your head, what's going on in your body, all the things. So that way I can help you individually. And I think a lot of people haven't heard you're amazing and perfect the way you are. We just want you to feel good. And what are the things that make you feel good? Movement, nutrition, sunlight, sleep, all of those things. And it doesn't have to be a compromise for another, and it doesn't have to be at a compromise for like yourself either.
I love all of that. Obviously, our community of people who are intentionally putting on weight, I feel like so often there is this idea that that becomes the priority and everything else falls away. Everything else has to be sacrificed in order to achieve the one thing that we want to focus on. And frankly, y'all, that is no different a mentality as the people who are obsessing over weight loss. It's the idea that
Yeah.
everything is worth sacrificing so long as you
Yep.
can be in this body. And what we're finding out is that it's not worth it. You're a whole human with all sorts going on, and you need to find ways in which to engage the whole person.
We rarely talk about bigorexia, and it's still something that exists in our community, and just no one ever brings it up.
Yes. I always say, like, what you're describing is both ends of the same kind of like at all costs. And you said something that made me think of something, but it'll come back to me, and that will might happen
that is all.
time.
That is all good, my love. Whenever you need
Oh,
to jump
that
in,
like
go.
ah ah I got it. I always tell my clients like it's a two-pronged approach. Like that's what winds up happening in my professional heat. But it's like these are the tools, these are the strategies, these are the all the things. But we're also going to talk about the emotional aspect behind everything because I can tell you, I'm gonna need you to eat breakfast. I'm gonna need you to not eat a quart of ice cream. I'm gonna need you to like move and stretch. But if we're not understanding why you are or are not doing those things, it doesn't matter.
It's almost like uh, everyone's different, and everyone's like human experience matters, and trying to blanket approach, apply a statement or an idea on how to function to everyone does not fucking work. And we owe it to ourselves to acknowledge I am a unique beast on the planet, in the universe,
Like,
and I owe it
yes.
to myself to have the fullness of my unique experience. And again, I love our community, and I love for the people who pursue that sense of weight gain in whatever narratives they do, because if that is for them, then you should go ahead and do the thing. When we offer, and I feel like we always need to clarify on this, when we offer some form of temperance to that, it is never to eschew or to shade or to say no to. It is only through the lens of, what about the rest of your life? And what about every other factor that goes on? Like, yes, you want to be the size, but are you in a position where you can sustain that? Can you remain in a larger body with a certain level of health and fitness and exercise and budget in order to feed said? It's all of these things that we don't get the chance to talk about because people aren't interested. People want snap result.
We did it at Jinx. Yes. I Yes, 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 yes. Like I always say, I don't care about three. I mean, I care about you in 3 months, but I don't care about 3, 6 months. Anyone can teach you how to do anything, learn, lose, gain, maintain, go to the gym, whatever in 3 months. I care about what are you doing at 85, 95? How are we going to make sure you get there? And how are we going to make sure whatever we're doing is sustainable? Because going to the gym 5 times a week, spending 3 hours is probably not realistic for a lot of people. So why are we starting with that?
Right. What are we doing with people where, like, we are the ages that we are? And, Tim and I probably exist at an intersection of privilege there because we don't have children. We don't have, like, the kind of careers where you're kind of locked into a certain type of thing. We probably, through the realm of privilege, have a greater sense of access to do whatever the fuck we want. The majority of people don't have that. Like, when you look at the average idea of someone who is in a body that they're not necessarily comfortable with, they've arrived at that form because all of the factors of life have taken away from them opportunities to carve out a life that they want for themselves, to do the fitness things that they want, or to eat the food that they want, or do these other things. And so all of that advice, especially when it comes from people who frankly are under the age of 30, you look at and you go, you don't know what it means to be a certain age with health and all those bits and pieces. So again, I appreciate a bitch who's willing to say it's not about that number. It is about you, the person, the process, and what we can do to be the most sustainable for you.
Yes, because there are no rules. Like everyone's following, okay, yeah, these are the food rules. This is what I was taught. But like as long as you are not hurting yourself or hurting other people, there are no rules. You can do whatever you want. You don't have to do this because of that and blah blah blah. And it kind of goes back to like why people are validated in the beginning is because a lot of times people say to me, wow, no one's ever said that to me. Wow, I've never like, oh wow, okay, I feel seen now. Because and they're saying something very simple like this is hard and this is why. And I'm like, yeah, that makes sense.
Of course it's hard. Like, that's why you came to a dietitian, bitch. That's why you came to a nutritionist. Because you can't do it on your own. It's not... Go. All
Mm-hmm.
of this. But listen.
Because okay, nobody teaches us how to do it. Everyone teaches us how to do things in a way to like fit a mold and fit a box and to like hate yourself. No one teaches you. And we're born intuitive eaters. Babies turn their heads. They don't want, they're done when they're done. But we're not taught that. And so people feel bad about themselves being 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, whatever. And they're like, I'm struggling. I don't know how because no one's ever taught us. And now you're being intentional about it. And that's wonderful.
I love this. Oh my god. Now listen, we need to dig into this because I think this is going to be a big part for the episode. Because of course you work with clients to help them heal their relationship with food and body image, and I want to know what has your own body journey been like.
Oh, that's that one. So I guess it's similar to everybody, but individual to myself, right? Like, so I'm the oldest sister. I was always the smart sister. I was always the fat sister. I was always chunky from kindergarten. Those were conversations in school, in the world that was just happening. And so I grew up hating myself. Oops. Sorry, mom, but like, whoops. And eventually in high school is high school, you hate yourself and love yourself no matter what. Like the blind confidence and the blind disrespect to yourself all the time. And then I think I got to a point where I would lose a lot of weight, get a lot of attention, and get a lot of praise. And like people would be, I would never imagine you skinny. Okay, that's a weird thing to say, right? Like, all right. Or like going to the holidays and someone's always commenting, if not on your body, on somebody else's. And it's never good enough. You're too skinny, you're too fat, you're not eating enough, you're starving yourself, blah, blah, blah. So a lot of that I personally experienced and I've seen around me all the time. Then it was like right around my wedding that I was probably the thinnest I was as an adult and the most unhealthy. And I had an eating disorder, except because I wasn't too small and because my weight wasn't a certain below whatever, I got praised. Wow, you're so good. How are you doing this? What are your tricks? What are your plans? Blah, blah, blah. And I look back and I feel so bad for that younger version of myself that was excited to eat less than 1,000 calories a day, that was excited to like burn more in a day than I ate, and manipulate my body to conform to standards. And so I knew that going into my wedding, that I was like, you know, this is not going to be sustainable for me. And that's fine if I gain some weight, but like, what, how do I take care of myself for the rest of my life? And then, of course, it was COVID. So those things kind of come hand in hand. Then, oh my God, you have babies, you get pregnant, your body changes. And there is a level of like snapback culture, even if you're trying to reject it. I had someone say to me, I think 2 years after my first son was born, "Oh, wow, we're finally starting to lose baby weight." What? That's weird. That's weird to say.
Girl, we were having this conversation with our good Judy Riley on an episode. She was talking about her experience as a feedee who went through pregnancy. And it's like, the ways in which, like, I don't know the science, but like I know the old wives' tales at least, where it's like a fat woman means a healthy baby because there is literally more materia for the baby to suck out of her body and make into a healthy child. Like, where else are they going to get this from? And this absolutely insane notion that, okay, now that the baby's gone, now you have to immediately, like, but if it was nutrition for the baby, why is it not allowed to be nutrition for her? You know, it's like we're telling on ourselves. Like, we don't give a fuck about you. We don't give a shit if you die. We just wanted you to birth a creature, and God, you know, like, fuck. Ugh.
Do your duty as a woman. Shut up. And period.
Precisely. You know, it's all of this shit.
And being not skinny, I don't want to even say necessarily in a larger body, but being not skinny and pregnant is a whole different ball game, because people don't know anything about what you're doing and automatically stop eating cake, stop eating cookies. I'm not eating those things, or don't gain too much weight, but you told me not to work out. So which one is it? And the amount of like fat phobia that comes with it just for being not skinny and pregnant.
In the last 15 years, I don't think I've ever seen so much like food restrictions placed on any category of creature, much like we have pregnant women. Because it's not even just one category of food, it's everything. Everything's now a minefield. And yeah, of course, things like alcohol and fermented products like a cheese, but it's like certain fruits and vegetables are apparently not good for you. Certain nuts and breads and grains are apparently not good. And it's like, what is she meant to do? Subsist on ice cubes and bone broth? Like, what?
I mean, there was an entire generation born to alcoholics and smokers, and they turned out all right. And they had lawn darts to play with growing up. So they survived.
My God.
And also, like, there's a lot of, you can't eat carbs. Stop eating carbs. Stop eating carbs. Carbs are the only thing that I can stomach because I'm nauseous and pregnant and throwing up. So, like, it just drives me nuts. And then I tell my clients, especially because I've been there, okay, where's like the delicious proteinish shake, and where's the green juice? Something along there that we can drink, because it's a little bit easier to drink at that point than simply like abstaining. Because then, to your point, what are we eating?
What are we eating? What are we doing? Like, also, as much as maybe I don't understand the meme of like weird cravings that apparently some women can experience in gestation, why would you judge it? Like, why is she craving it? Probably because that specific combination of food items, their brain and body knows contains the exact chemical formula that's gonna, like, help the baby and also help her. It's Cheese Whiz on top of ice cream. Yeah, it's weird. Fucking get over it. Give her the can and the scoop and keep it moving. The bitch is pregnant. Let her fucking live. Christ alive. Ugh. There is something you said that I think is important to bring up here. You said this on a podcast. Why should we spend our lives hating ourselves and our bodies? And I feel like that should be the question at the front of our minds when it comes to all of this conversation. Why should we spend our lives hating ourselves?
Yes. And why should we spend our lives putting ourselves in a box that, who built this box? Like, I have a client that I love her so much. She says that like, that her parents and her father always described her as like a butterfly. And in school, they were always like, go faster, go like study this, blah, 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 blah. And they treated her like a bird. And she's like, but I'm a butterfly. I'll get there. I'll get there in my own way. Beautiful.
So you promote a weight inclusive, safe, judgment free, and validating experience for your clients, but everyone's kind of dying to know could this also include weight gain?
Absolutely. For so many different reasons. And guess what? I can't sit here and list them all for you because it is individualized. Like, period, end of story. And when you're making peace with food, you might gain weight. If you've never allowed to eat more than 1,200 calories in a day, your body needs to regulate a little bit and it's going to take time. And that's the long term stuff we're worried about. If you're making peace with chips, I always say, not from a personal example or anything, but there's a lot of different type of chips out there. You have to eat them and try them. Yes, you can gaining weight. Absolutely. Absolutely. Mhm.
It's worth considering, and this is maybe something for people who are listening who maybe aren't even on the gainer side of things, because we know, because we've heard from them, that there are people who listen who aren't in the community, and that's fine. This is space for everybody. This is a comment that could be made about the current state of Ozempic and weight loss within fat liberation, right? If you turn around and say, I want to be at peace with food in my life, and you go on that journey, and it means you start to gain weight, and you don't resolve the tension that you feel about that weight gain, you haven't actually done anything. You haven't actually done it. All you've done is say, I want to be cool with food, but you have to accept that sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes, fatness comes with it. Because fatness is not an infiltrative disease, it is a natural state of being. As mammalian creatures, we evolved this through the Ice Age to retain energy and warmth and insulation on our meat sacks to survive the cold. It is here because it is meant to be here. So people need to process that. And the reason why I reference Ozempic and the current state of things within fat liberation is because there are a great many people who will stand up 10 toes down and say, I love myself for being fat, until they get a get out of jail free card. And suddenly we see some changes. And I'm not here to name any names or judge any individuals on that front, because that's not my journey, it's yours. However, understand that truly having a sense of acceptance in your body means you've got to learn to rock with all of it. Every facet that comes with it, because that's your unique body, your unique journey. And until you can learn to get to a good equilibrium with it all, I don't think you're going to have a good time.
And that's the neutrality right there. That's neutrality, equilibrium. You don't have to hate yourself. You also don't have to have the toxic positivity and I love myself. You're allowed to like wake up, feel extra bloated, or like feel off and be like, ugh, this sucks. And move on from that thought and it not ruin your day, how you're nourishing yourself, what your plans are, any of those things. It doesn't say anything about you as a person. And I think you make an excellent point in terms of looking to other people as kind of role models is very dangerous because everybody is different. So at the end of the day, we all need to get to a place, ideally, where you trust that, like, I have faith in myself. I know that if I lean into what's meant for me will come. And that's different for everyone. But because we're taught to hate ourselves, you look outwards for it instead of inwards.
Girl, all of that.
I'd be curious to ask, so like if I wanted to start a journey with a dietitian, where would I begin? Like, is this the kind of thing that I can source for myself, or do you guys mostly work off of referrals?
Both and, right? So it might be it's going to be different in different states and different countries, of course, but there are certainly like books and resources and all of that you can lean into. You can always do a quick Google search and be like, how do I heal my relationship with food? How do I nourish myself? And then I'm sure some dietitians will pop up. The key is figuring out somebody that is going to click with your value. And how do you do that? I do this with my clients all the time too, because it's not just dietitians, it's the doctors of your world, the psychiatrists of the world, the psychologists of the world, all of those things. And so I'll pull it up and I say, like, all right, let's look at the vibe of the picture. Sorry, not sorry. Like, do you look friendly? Do you look nice? Or do you look like a teacher that might like try and like pow my hands? What does your little bio say? Can I relate to you at all? Are there words that make me feel seen and safe in that? Because it might not be the same for everyone, right? Like, I might be looking for like busy and balance and apparently a bunch of B words, but someone else might be looking for cooking and this, right? So what are the words that make you feel safe, that resonate with you? And you don't have to stick with people. Like if somebody doesn't match, that's fine. And as a professional, I say that all the time. I'm like, well, a lot of people like come with the idea of weight loss, that they equate making peace with food with weight loss, which we just said is not always the case, right? And I tell them, like, look, we can talk about what your weight means to you and what that looks like. Of course, having the desire of weight loss is not a bad thing. There is no good or bad. It's data collection. That's what I always say. And so we're not going to sit here and like, I'm not going to tell you to go on the scale once a day, 3 times a day, once a month, or any of those things. I am concerned about what's your energy like? What's your mood like? Are you like engaged in your life? Are you feeling like a level of contentment, not joy all the freaking time, but like, your head's up high, all of those different kinds of pillars. And it's up to also the professional to kind of like be upfront about it to begin with.
See, all of this, again, it's so refreshing to hear. I think it, especially in a time where it kind of feels like a lot of professionals are here to flog a product, they're here to flog a program that's meant to entice people who have an ingrained idea of how things are supposed to be. And hearing a bitch who is just upfront and honest about this shit, like, sets my heart at rest to know that there is, like, a good person that can be approached about this. I mean, we often talk about this where it's like, it's all well and good to say, oh, I'm the lactose person who just loves to eat a little bit of cheese and chocolate and ice cream. Like, I get it. I don't experience lactose intolerance. I think I'd be a little devastated if I had to start pivoting away from. However, you can sit there and say, oh, I indulge a little bit in this because it makes me feel good, but actually my main concern is a sense of lethargy, is a sense of gassiness that makes me feel a bit uncomfortable. Baby, maybe it's not actually about your weight. Maybe it's about the kind of things that you're eating. Maybe in this instance, it's about specific chemical compounds that are going through your body and making your body feel a certain type of way. And maybe instead of saying that you'll suffer through, maybe you've got to give a little more respect to your body by easing up on that a little bit, We say this with gaining. There are so many recipes and shakes and things out there that people say that are meant to make you put on weight real, real fast. If I have to see another one where it's like a cup of oil, and I just go, no, no, I'm sorry, I don't want to do this. Like, I want to have fun on this journey, and I don't think I need to run my gut like a grease trap in order to do it. I think I can do it with some lovely things, But, again, that question of, if we're not having a good time at things, maybe it's not just the quick answer of, oh, well, it's because I'm fat, or it's because I'm thin, and therefore my body is gross, and that's why I feel good. Maybe there's more to the story than just that.
Well, two things. One, gaining weight at a fast-paced level is also like not great for you either, right? So like, there's anything at an extreme, it's probably not great for you. It's about the balance of it all. And what did you just say that made me think of something? I forgot. But you did say indulge, and I would even, if you were my client, I would have stopped you right there. I'd be like, are you indulging it, or are you feeding your emotional hunger? Are you feeding your taste hunger? Because indulge even has a word of like a connotation of like good and bad. But
yeah, to indulge is, oh, I shouldn't, but I'm going to. It indicates a sense of weakness. And even a lot of the language around things like, oh, it's a cheat day, or it's a reward. And it's like, we are vilifying, and we are, what is it when it's heroic? It's iconifying, I think? Iconizing? Whatever that is.
Complex.
Lionizing.
We're vilifying and lionizing various things. And, we're gumming ourselves down in the muck. We say we want to take a step forward, but all we've done is turn another degree in the muck and taken a deeper step in. It's sacrificing one addiction for another. It's never going to resolve in true resolution and in internal peace with those things.
Yep. And I'm doing this because I do this all day, every day. Restrict, binge, restrict, binge. We are so taught to be black, white, left, right, all of the things, that there is so much gray, and we're missing out on so many opportunities. So yeah, and it's so fair. Like, if you've been doing one thing for so long, of course, when you try and do something different, it's going to be the next extreme. And sometimes you need professional help to learn what that middle gray ground looks like for you.
100%. And, this is, again, not to call out our community, but there is typically only one style of approach that is gifted to people, and that is the idea of just going as hard as you can, as much as you can, with all of your energy. And, you know, there is a sex element to it because that's a theme in the community, right? And there's no judgment because we all enjoy what we enjoy. But again, we often bring up that thing of, even if that's your main motivation, the moment you finish, you're still a person who has to live and think and breathe and exist in that body. And I need to know, how do you feel about yourself in that moment when you don't have sex motivator, where you don't have that hunger, where you don't have that driving you? Are you really at peace with what you're doing and how you're doing it? Because for me, and I want to be very honest about this, there are many moments in my day when I'm at work, when I'm with my partner, when I'm doing things at the shops, I'm not in that kind of headspace, but I still wear my fat body. And I am absolutely at peace with my shape and my fitness and my hygiene and all of my things, because whether or not I'm in a certain type of mode, I'm checking in with myself to be like, how am I really feeling about this? And therefore, I stand 10 toes down with confidence. And if someone were to come to me and be like, you're really doing this? Like, yes, bitch. Of course I am.
Yes. And why are you commenting on myself?
Yeah.
Leave me
Are you jealous? Did
Yeah,
you want advice? Is that what's going on here? Like, you know?
What it says everything about the other person and nothing about you. And that is like the internal boundaries that like we have to learn.
So I want to ask you this. When it comes to your work, you know, and again, we've kind of been talking about this at this time, you know, the work you do, it's weight inclusive, safe, judgment free. I want to know what kind of questions should people be asking? And also, what do you specifically do to achieve this?
It starts with treating people like people. It starts with like hearing what they're saying. Like, for example, people will be like, I had a client. She's 70 something. She just retired. And then she goes, yeah, but I've been a slob for the past like year and a half. I haven't really worked out as much. And I'm like, did you not work out? Are you a slob? Or did you spend decades at a really hard job? And now you want to take a break. Can we please not talk to ourselves like that? And then, of course, it's always like, no, you're right. I'm not this. This is the reality of the situation. And so I guess that ultimately, at the end of the day, I hold the space for people that they can't yet hold for themselves, right? Like, I think you're amazing. I think you're perfect. I think you're wonderful, like all of the things. And if you don't believe that, that's fine. I do, and I'll hold it. And because a lot of times I'll say to my clients, 3 things you like about yourself, and they can't answer it. And that breaks my heart. Like, what do you mean there's something you don't like about yourself? And then to go back to like what they're looking for, what you're looking for, safety, someone who looks like not a robot, or who looks like they're like a human being a little bit, like they are not perfect in what that means for you, right? Like, I might find someone who's taking like a selfie and I might be like, oh, I don't really want to work with that person. But you might see someone who took a selfie and be like, oh, that's relatable. I want to work with that person. So it's like, what feels safe for you, period.
I love that. I love that. It just brings up so much in terms of like
speechless.
You know, like thinking about, well, baby, you're just dropping bars in this entire fucking episode, Jesus. But no, like when I think about our community and like what inspires anyone to want to go on this kind of a journey is you want it. You want it, and something in the spirit says this is what's correct for you, and therefore you go for it. And it's the knowledge that because gaining is so counterculture, there's this sort of expectation that, well, because it's weight gain and not weight loss, it means we're not subject to what everyone else is going for, because we're going in the opposite direction, and therefore that's the cure. When I don't think that's really the truth. I think everything is susceptible to the same reductive ideology, the same, you know, it's 1 + 1 = 2, and that's it, right?
Yep.
And I think when we lose that sense of, you know, like when I had ideas of what I wanted to look like when I was a younger person, I always had the idea of, you know, this big man at the dinner table on Thanksgiving, and I have my beautiful family all around me. And so it was never just, oh, it's me in a body existing in a vacuum. It was always like, there's family there. There's friends, there's community. I'm envisioning a full home. I'm envisioning wealth to an extent. I'm envisioning success and, the cup runneth over. And so, like, there's all those factors. And I think when we can be reductive about it, we really lose sight of, no, the dream was to have it all. And I find that as an irony, especially as larger people, because do they not joke, we want to have our cake and eat it too? Then, bitch, why shouldn't we? Why should I not have my cake and eat it up and then lick the plate of every single crumb and then snap my fingers and say another slice? Do you know, like, why can't I have it all? And I think the answer is that because I can. Because I can. And sometimes I wonder if it is just the belief that it is even possible, which again, I want to come back to your presence here on this podcast. And I go, no, this is a bitch saying, like, yes, it's possible. Not even caveat. It's just, it's possible. End of story. And the potential alone should excite you to go, oh, I can really do anything. I can do anything.
Because
and I think that's so cool.
Literally, my personal life motto is there's no such thing as impossible. You just got to figure it out and get it done. It could be hard, probably, but it's going to be worthwhile if it is hard. And I think you hit the nail on the head in terms of I can do it, but what's the barrier? It's that, for example, people will use, well, I ate too much, so I have to work out more, or, right? And then it's like, but no, we want to do all the things to make sure we're covering all of our bases. And when you're doing one thing at 100%, you're doing everything else at 0% because you only have but so much energy, spoons, whatever you want to call it, fucks to give in a day. And you just said, like, and go back to, it doesn't matter necessarily if the goal is weight gain, weight loss, or staying in the middle. My question is always like, what do you gain when you get that body type? What are the things we're looking for there? And a lot of times the answers are so much of what you just said. So much of it. I want a confidence. I want to feel good in my clothes. I want to feel accepted and loved. And sometimes the things are, I want to be able to move in this world and just be accepted. And that's a harder emotion for us to work on, but we can certainly work on your energy levels and your confidence and all of this stuff now. Why are we waiting to X point to be happy or to be content? Why?
100%. We think about this with gaining all the time. Sometimes the goalposts seem to move. Like, for example, I was 100 pounds soaking wet when I started, and I can show you the pictures. I was 100 pounds at 21. And when I hit 200, I felt so good about myself because that is double my starting weight. I felt incredible. I pushed back on some real negative food tropes. But the amount of people in the space who would look at me and go, well, now you look normal weight. Now you can look to get fat. And I've gained 100 pounds. Baby, I've already done more work than you have. What the fuck are you on about? And sometimes people try to qualify your efforts as if to say, like, you have to prove it to me in order to be validated in an identity, in an effort. And that can be so demoralizing. Again, who are we doing things for? And Tim, I want to throw to you here because I feel like through the course of the podcast, we come to you as a nurse, right? As someone who it's the closest regular conversation to medical anything that we get to have in the space. And I'd like to put this to you. How does this kind of conversation sit with you? Does it challenge things for you? Does it affirm things for you?
I mean, I'll be honest, like we don't get a ton of nutritional education in nursing school. Like we get basically the bare bones so that we can sort of explain things to people if they have questions, and a lot of the dietitians that I've known in various places that I've worked in, it's been mostly like senior care, long-term care. It's kind of like, it's a no man's land. So they didn't really have a lot of resources at their disposal. So they were also kind of like just filling a slot at the moment. But I guess I was laboring under the assumption that any dietitian would tell you, oh no, you can't gain weight. That's not what this is about. So, but to be fair, I never asked any of the ones that I knew. Like, I think one time I asked somebody, like, how do I lower my triglycerides? And that was about it.
Yes. I think what a lot of dietitians, especially kind of the younger generation coming up, will say, I'm concerned about how much you're eating. And I'm literally getting a shirt that says it. I'm going to need you to eat. I'm going to need you to eat. Like, period, end of story. And when I think about like long-term care experiences, acute care, all of those things, who's somebody who has a really horrible like cancer diagnosis? Who's going to do better? Someone who has more literal meat on their bones so their body has the extra strength, or someone who's like who doesn't?
You
Who
know,
Mhm.
so we did an episode, and I think it was season 3, where we interviewed a member of the community who has been battling cancer for a very long time, for a number of years. And they, by the stereotypes of looking at someone, you would not imagine that they live with cancer, but they do. And in this episode, we were talking about, how do you think that gaining and the process of gaining maybe benefits your journey of battling cancer? And he straight up said, when you are dealing with cancer, the number one reason people flag and die is because the process takes and robs you of every human facility you don't want to eat, you don't want to chew, you don't want to swallow, you don't want to sit with that in your gut because you're dealing with chemicals and things raging in your body. But it is the thing you need to survive. And because the process of gaining is all about saying, hey, you need to eat a little bit more, you need to do this to yourself. It was a trick and a skill that he had honed and developed that has helped him to stave off a lot of the effects of cancer over the years. And so there is a literal benefit to delving into a lifestyle of quote unquote overconsumption and a habit of this, because it could literally save you and help you to stave off one of the most destructive things that a human can go through. And it was such a powerful story, and it's one of the things that I sit with and think, as a culture, sometimes we really do think to ourselves, like, how many memes, how many stories of people who are dealing with cancer and then they walk into the office and people are like, oh, you've lost weight, you look great. And the thought in their mind is, I would rather be clinically obese, immobile, bitch, I'd rather that than dealing with wasting disease and cancer. And it's just like, we really are out here, we were saying this before about, losing the weight, the snapback weight after pregnancy. We would really rather a person be dead and skinny than be alive and fat, and when you start to look at that and you just go, fucking hell, like, the fat phobia is real, y'all.
Yes. And when we go back, I'm like picking on you, I'm sorry. Overconsumption, right? How about like adequate consumption? Because if we're thinking about somebody with a cancer, and when you're talking, this like makes so much sense to it brought this up in my head, like, what's a bad food? We talk about bad foods, good foods all the time. And I say there's no such thing. Why? Perfect example. Let's say ice cream. If my cancer patient wants some ice cream, I'm going to need you to eat. I'm going to need you to eat all of it. So just because it might not be good for you who's lactose intolerant, fine. But why are we putting the morality there? It has nothing to do with it. Goes back to the individual. And there's nothing wrong with, because instead of like, when I'm saying like, okay, overconsumption, ooh, because then there's underconsumption, blah, 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 right? What about the adequate consumption? Because you're allowed to eat your emotional hunger. You're allowed to eat your taste hunger. And I always say there's a complete difference between, oh my God, I really want some ice cream. I had a rough day. I put it in my favorite bowl. I like get my cup. I sit down. I savor it. I enjoy it. It hits the spot and I move on. And then I wind up eating a pint or a quart or this or that, where now I feel physically ill and then potentially emotionally ill. Like, nobody wants to feel crappy, but have your ice cream on a bad day. And that doesn't mean that if you have like a nutrition related health condition, that this doesn't apply to you. In fact, a lot of my like diabetes patients, I can eat rice again. Yes, we have been born and raised with rice and beans. I'm gonna need you to eat rice. What else are we adding to what else is on the plate, right? But like, how big is that serving? Sure, but you can eat the rice, you can eat the carbs, and let's find it in a way that spreads it out through the day, so that way you are getting nourishment and managing your conditions. Both can exist.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely remember that one of the key ways of controlling diabetes is making sure that your diet is also consistent, because that gets your body regulated to like when your glucose is going to spike and when the insulin can be released. And I know that's mostly just for type 2, but I clearly remember that coming up in the lessons. Um, So I'm curious to ask. So you are a mother, a wife, a proud Latina, and you balance all of that with this business that you carved out for yourself. How much do those two worlds influence each other?
Everything 100% all the time. I wouldn't be able to, like, I think, give that validation to my clients or like show up for them if I didn't have a certain extent of lived experience or a certain extent of like, well, I live in New York. I know someone who's like that. Let me call my friend and get their experience type of thing. A lot of dietitians, the huge, I don't remember the percentages off my head. I should probably look that up, but are white women. And yes, like physically I am white. Like don't come for me. I know that. But I'm Puerto Rican. So yes, that is rice and beans. Yes, I know I might not know exactly what your culture food is, but I know what you're talking about. And I know that, like, go back to when there wasn't any of this kind of stuff. Those, they survived and the meals were balanced. And it's just all the diet culture things that are telling you what you're eating is wrong. So it influences my work because it helps me be a lot more relatable, and my work influences like my life because I'm talking about this stuff all day. And so I really gotta, like, I'm not a fake one. I don't know if you've noticed that or not. So I'm not gonna sit here and say something that I don't believe or I don't do myself or anything like that. And so if I find myself like slipping in one area, I gotta remind myself, like, hold on, let's be more intentional here. Or I pulled up this recipe with a client. Let me make it myself because that sounds delicious. Like, all day I talk about food. So, you know, inspo.
And what kind of feedback do you get from your clients?
Well, I feel like you're making me gas myself up, but like, I mean, everybody loves me. Well, and like, I don't.
Ah, I mean, I just want to say everybody does, like, it is fact. Everybody does love me. I am incredible. But honestly, I'm not going to disagree with you.
Well, and even this is the certain level of confidence that I really try. Ooh, I always try to go with the level of like the most privileged basic person and how they think that they're like top shit. So why aren't I top shit, right? And if I'm doing something, I want it to be my best and like a good outcome, right? So I that's why I take what I do very seriously. And so when I say like, oh, I'm the best, it's because I am. And I don't mean that in a cocky way, but it means that, like, I'm the best because I have room to grow and I know that. And I have room to learn and I know that. And I'm open to that and I absorb that. And I'm not afraid to say, like, I don't know, let's look that up. Or that's a interesting question. I don't know, let's figure it out together. Those type of things. And being vulnerable back is key, and that's probably why, because I'm sitting here as a hot mess too. Like, we're all hot messes. That's okay. And so that's what people love me, because I'm a mess. I shouldn't talk to myself like that. But I'm not perfect either. Period. End of story.
I just want to say here, because we've talked about this sometimes, Tim, that there is this thing put on all of us who've grown up in the West, the idea of, like, you need to present as humble. You need to present as having humility and being like, oh no, I'm not all that. No. Let me read this out to you. The definition of what it means to be humble is to be having or showing a modest or low estimate of one's own importance. Why the fuck are we playing with the concept of having to present ourselves in a low estimation to other people? We've talked about
because of religious dominance in the West.
It's the same reason why we are all raised to believe that when we feel anger is always bad. Anger is not justifiable. That's not fucking true. That is not fucking true at all. If I slapped you across the face, you would feel angry at me, wouldn't you? And that would probably be justified, wouldn't it? I have always held to this idea that when you feel a righteous anger, that is the part of your soul that knows you have just been disrespected, and it is standing up and saying, hey, the way you treated me was not fucking okay, and I'm going to let you know that the way you treated me was not okay. Like, there is so much more to the human experience with all of the things. Our emotions, our spirituality, our body journeys, our diet, our sense of everything. There is more to the story than just the kind of commonly held belief of, well, everybody knows. I don't give a shit what everyone else thinks.
Mm-hmm.
Because the reason I'm sitting here in contradiction and feeling some type of way is because clearly how I think, feel, and operate is different to the commonly held belief of things. And if that's not serving me now, it's not going to serve me later neither. So I need to find something different.
I need to learn, adjust, grow, all of those things. And this anger conversation is so important because anger, what's underneath that? A level of fear, maybe a level of sadness, maybe, because why, if somebody says to you, ew, what you're doing, like, oh my God, why are you doing this? Right? Why is it affecting you? Because it hits a core place of like not being loved unconditionally, maybe, or not, being seen or validated or being in a safe place. And so, like, that's the first thing that comes out because it's quicker, right? Like the anger is a lot faster than like sadness, maybe. And anger is a little bit safer to show, especially for certain like groups of people than sadness too. So, yep.
Power versus vulnerability. And as you were just saying, like, what is it that fear of? Maybe we're not being supported by people. Comes back to a point we often come to, which is the importance of community in so many of these spaces. We talk about this with gaining all the time. You need to make friends online and you need to go to events in person because you need to be with your people. You need to be able to sit and be celebrated and held and be allowed to be at rest. Because if you can't do that, then you do not know how to sit in the quiet and discomfort of the things that you're navigating. So we have to be able to show that to one another, which is why we often say with this podcast, this is a space for that. Which, once again, thank you for being here and for sharing and for contributing to what I think are some very crucial and important messages for our people. And to that, I would like to ask you here, what kinds of challenges and victories have you encountered in your work?
Well, besides me like billing and trying to get credentialed, like the technicalities of it all, right? Challenges, going back to like 8, 9 clients a day and back to back, and I gotta pee and I gotta eat. But no, I think I'm very in tune with people, and so to a point at those 8, 9, 7 clients a day, it can be very emotionally draining. And for me, because I'm not perfect too, I have very high standards of how I treat like my people around me, but most importantly, my husband and my kids. Because if I'm going to be emotionally available all day for people, I'm not going to do that at the risk of my husband and my kids. And so that takes a lot of intentionality for me to manage all of those things and to be a communicator, to be like, I need to decompress. I need a few minutes. I'm overstimulated. I'm all the things. So it does take a level of like emotional labor to do it. Also, too, like the system doesn't allow to help everybody, right? Like at the end of the day, like if your insurance is not covering it, I'm gonna do my best to make sure that like that is not a barrier to care, but you still might not be able to afford care. That's ridiculous. So like that part, the challenges of my people not getting supported in the ways that they should, but it's just there's some. I had somebody randomly trying to fight me on the internet the other day, and I was like, "You're weird. That's bye." So like that part. Although I will say, like, go to my page and throw all the hate you want because that's engagement. I'll totally take it. Bye. And for victories, I don't want to cry. If I do, it's fine too, but whatever.
Baby, let it all out. This is the place to do it. Come on.
It's like I get instant gratification when I see people have a light bulb moment, or I see the progress they made, or they tell me the results of what's going on because of our work. Like those clients who can't think of 3 things that they love about themselves, and now they can take a compliment, or they can say, well, no, I'm pretty good at that. What? Did we just elevate our self-esteem, our self-image? Like, I can't. People like we get emotional. I'm crying all day because it's like they're crying. I'm like trying to like, maintain my composure, a level of some type of professional ability, but I see people's lives and their families' lives changing in front of me all day. And it is just an honor to help facilitate that, to point that in a little bit of a direction. It's
So, since you founded Worthy of Wellness, what are the top three things that make someone worthy of wellness, and what is next for Worthy of Wellness?
So to be worthy of wellness, be alive, have a pulse, be a
Exist.
human. Yeah, be in this, exist, be in this world, be a human being. And I I think that's such a great question too, because when I was like doing my kind of trainings and learning and all this, and just encountering people on a day-to-day life, people don't think they're worthy of grace and kindness and joy, and it they just think that like I suck so much that I don't deserve any of those things, and that is not true. Every single person is worthy of all of the things, and that's why I called it wellness and not just like nutrition, but or all of but what and whatever that means to you. So everybody is worthy of wellness. Slay. The parts about what's next. I have a lot of crazy ideas, and I always try them out, but because sidebar, and I'll get back to the point. Like I think certain things, like even doing kind of like media work, right? I'm gonna have to hear 1,000 no's before I get a yes, and so every no that I get, I'm like, cool, 362, almost there, making progress. So I just throw myself out there, and I kind of just try and do things. So what's next for Worthy of Wellness? Always more mentoring, always like growing as much as possible in the ways of what services can we add, right? So like I'm always looking and getting ideas. Oh, we could do this. Oh, we could do that. So if anybody has any ideas, holla at your girl. I'm really getting into like a lot of media stuff because I can do a lot of one-on-one work, but I want to spread the word bigger. So that's another one. What else am I doing? I want to like figure out insurances on a deeper level. There's people of that. I just want to like overall connect more, grow more, because this, if I think back to those older versions of myself, was my dreams, and I have the long-term thing in mind. I just gotta get there. So everything is next.
I love that. I love that. That is very much the same spirit of us in everything we do with Thicc Radio, so I love that. That's great. Now, baby, I want to ask you a bit of a different question. It's a bit of a fun one. Because we know that you love to cook and we know that you love to bake. So, baby, we need to
Ooh,
know what food gives you life and what food brings you peace.
my grandmother's beets, specifically hers and only hers, and maybe if my aunt makes them too. When I was pregnant with my first kid, I it was COVID times, and I really wanted like the taste of those beans. And it was COVID time, so I couldn't go over there. And I tried everybody else's beans. I tried all of the things. None of them were good. There is nothing like my grandmother's beans that like it literally gives me life because it's like rejuvenation. It's like all of my ancestors like in at one time. It speech it like literally, and then I finally got it once when I was pregnant, and I was like, exactly, and life changing because she's awesome. And peace, ooh, I'm a chocoholic, so give me some dark chocolate. Oh, and speaking of that aunt, actually, she makes a bomb ass chocolate cake and like her own frosting. And I just started making it this year. Also, I slay, but like it is amazing. So they both give me peace and life at the same time in different ways.
Mm. I love that. I feel, it's always such a fun question to ask because people will take it in different directions, right? But I always
Mm,
think it's like, what is a food like? And whichever one you ascribe it to, I want a food that like it just centers you. It makes you feel like you're at home, like you are
mm,
safe, like you are
mm.
cared for. And then there's the food that you eat it and you're like, holy shit, I am alive and I am blessed to be alive because I get to taste this incredible thing.
So
So,
then flip it. So then flip it,
okay.
but the same answers.
But the same
So
answer.
yeah, beans give me the peace and like, oh my God, I'm home. There, like somebody cares about me that made this. Oh my God. And then that freaking cake and that frosting, whoop, life. Let me explode, because I'll make it for you guys one day.
Hey, girl, you don't gotta tell me twice. I'll be there with a knock on the door. I'll be yelling at your husband and your children like, Jessica said I could have some! Open up! Oh, good lord. Oh, girl, this has been so much fun. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Are we done?
Well, baby, just about. We've only got one more question.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if that was like a wrap-up if you were just saying that genuinely or as a wrap.
No, just genuinely.
Okay.
But the last question is, what would you like our listeners to take away from today's conversation?
You don't have to put yourself in a box. No one is coming. This is our one life. Let's figure out a way to not make it suck. You are worthy of wellness, of course. Like, that's a good one. And really, like, you're capable. We are capable. It's really about figuring it out and getting it done. And so I just don't want people to hate themselves. And what does that mean? And like, it is okay to be vulnerable. It is okay to need help. It is okay to mess up. It is okay to be mad. It is okay to have the feelings. It is okay to not be perfect. And you know what I want to say too, for all your listeners, like, you're unconditionally loved, period. You are unconditionally allowed to like exist. End of story. And if somebody tells you otherwise, send them my way.
I love that. Jess, you're amazing. Thank you so much for doing this.
No, thank you guys for like letting me. Honestly.
This was an absolute pleasure. Oh my god. And listen, you have an open invitation. Anytime you want to come back, if you got more shit you want to shoot, more things you want to say, baby.
Many. I was like taking notes about like what else I gotta, what other ideas. So I was like, oh, I should write that down. I should say that. And honestly, whenever you want, I'm happy to come and chat. So
fabulous. Now, where can our listeners find you online?
So on all socials, we are Worthy of Wellness LLC. All letters. And then worthyofwellness.com. And just like look for the space.
This gorgeous, stunning face, to which I'm going to encourage members of our community, because as we said at the start of this shit, we have always heard from the people that they want to hear from a nutritionist, they want to hear from a dietitian about the real talks about this situation and maybe any advice or assistance that could be granted. So listen, if you're out there and you're looking for a little bit of help on your journey, maybe, just maybe, you should click on those links, do a little quote, maybe an intro call with our good girl and with her business, and see where it takes you. I think you could all do a little bit of that today. But for now, that is a wrap for here on Thicc Radio. Please remember to like and subscribe, rate us 5 stars, and leave us a good review. If you liked this episode, the podcast, our gorgeous guest, or just us in general, please share it with your friends and encourage them to tune in. You can find me on Instagram and BlueSky at stannnum.
And you can find me on Instagram at thiccymouse and Grommr at Orpheus. You can also find us on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at Thicc Radio, or visit our website at podpage.com/Thicc Radio. If you'd like to become a financial supporter of the show, you can donate through our PayPal, and you can always email us at thethiccradio@gmail.com. So until next time, bye, Fats.
Bye, Fats.
Bye, guys.
Let's talk about it.
Thicc Radio is a Spotify podcast.
Artwork, media design, editing, and production by James Heinzen.
With original theme music by CYMK.